Carter. My service dog is Bones. He's a black lab. He's very calm, sweet. He serves me for my diabetes and epilepsy, and partially my anxiety attacks that I have with my diabetes. I think that's what he picks up on the most. He'll give me little nose bumps on my leg. He tends to stare at me a lot. Even in the middle of the night, I'll wake up to him just like staring at me, and it's kind of creepy, but you know. But he's very adamant on getting me to recognize my alerts and recognize my medical issues. And we have this thing called DPT, where he basically just lays across my lap, puts his weight on me for when I'm having an anxiety attack, or if I'm feeling anxious, any kind of time I'm stressed. He really has most definitely helped me to get out more and be more comfortable out in large crowds.
Welcome to our 5th episode of Season 2 of the 98%. Life After Prison, a show dedicated to the roughly 98% of incarcerated people in North Carolina who will eventually be released back into society, often with little or no support. I'm April Barber Scales.
And I'm Judy Van Wyk. Today, we're devoting our show to the healing power of dogs. Ears, Eyes, Nose, and Paws, or EEMP, is a therapy dog program that trains assistance dogs and partners them with people with disabilities. In November, I attended a graduation ceremony to celebrate the latest partnerships. That's where I met Anna Carter, who is a rising junior in high school and had been paired with her service dog Bones just 2 weeks before. Let's hear more about Anna's experience with the EEMP program.
I feel like I'm going to be able to most definitely be more comfortable going and doing things with my medical issues. And I have a very big issue with going out in public crowds by myself, so I feel like he's gonna help me with that better, just knowing that I have something familiar that goes with me everywhere. And EEMP, I would say, is definitely the way to go, because their dogs are also trained not only to be service dogs, but to also be companions and regular dogs. Like, they don't just make them work. They make sure you have a friend and that the dogs still have, like, playtime with you. So I think they're definitely a really good company to go through.
Community seems to be very important to them.
Yeah, I liked how they had people coming in throughout the week, previous clients that came and just talked to us, and I think that also helped me with adjusting, because walking around with a service dog, you stand out in a crowd, you know, and I think listening to how other clients have dealt with that, I think that has really helped. And knowing that I have a large community supporting me throughout my journey with Bones, that makes me feel like 100 times more better with this whole process.
How do you feel about the fact that they've been trained in part by people who've been in prison?
I think that's definitely a really good program, and I really like that EEMP goes through that program with their dogs, because I could tell whenever we did training with the prisoners that one day that those dogs were definitely trained by people who genuinely cared and genuinely wanted this to work out. So I felt like, because I got to meet the guy who trained Bones, and I was like, Bones is going to be a great dog. After I met that guy, I was just taken aback by how well they had trained them and had everything down. It was shocking. It was amazing.
You know, when Anna talks about her day at the prison, she's referring to her day at Orange County Correctional, where the men who train EEMP's therapy dogs worked with the clients to teach them how to work with their service dogs. In fact, a major part of training is done in 3 North Carolina prisons.
This past year, the program expanded to OCC, the only minimum security prison in the program. For the first time, it's possible for the clients to go into the prison and meet the trainers. For the guys in the ABLE program at both ends of the leash, the chance to work with the clients their dogs have been partnered with makes the hard work they've done real and particularly rewarding. Let's learn more about the eyes, ears, nose, and paws from one of our founders, Deb Cunningham.
Good job, you guys. My name is Deb Cunningham, and I'm the program director for Eyes, Ears, Nose, and Paws. I interface with everything to do with programs, which includes our clients, our volunteers in the community, and our ABLE trainers inside the North Carolina Department of Adult Corrections. We're a nonprofit in Hillsborough, North Carolina, that trains and places assistance dogs for people with disabilities. And we work with the prison system in North Carolina to get those dogs trained. We have two programs. We work with people with mobility impairments. So they might be a wheelchair user, they might be ambulatory, but need a cane, a walker, or they might walk around pretty normally, but be at a higher risk for falls. And those dogs do things like retrieve items that have been dropped on the floor, open and close doors, turn on and off light switches, help brace people. So when they do fall, help people get up, and they can also go get help. Then we have another program, a medical alert dog program, and those dogs use their sense of smell to detect when an acute onset medical issue is about to happen. So, for example, diabetes. When someone's blood sugar is starting to go up, too high or dropping, the dogs will alert our client and let them know, essentially, like, check your blood sugar. Anything that essentially comes on suddenly, the dogs are very good at seeing, oh, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine, and then smelling the moment where your body is starting to get into distress. I've loved dogs my whole life. I took my childhood dog with me to college. Everybody knew me as the woman with the dog. And then after I left college, I started working with a local nonprofit that did search and rescue and partnered with the North Carolina Department of Emergency Management. What happened was I was interested in doing more with that kind of work. It was very cool to me that I could partner with a dog and we could do more together than either one of us could do individually. And so I thought that working relationship was just amazing, and I wanted to do more of it. We started our prison program in 2014. We were founded in 2008. So those first years, we relied solely on community volunteers. And people are busy these days. We were having a hard time growing because there just weren't enough people who had enough time to do the work that we needed, to house the dogs, to work with the dogs in public places, and so on. From that, we reached out to the prison system, and they were interested right away.
Describe the training that you do for your dogs. I mean, what does that process kind of look like?
So we actually just had a litter of 9 puppies. We are part of an international breeding cooperative that essentially assistance dog schools across the entire world work together to breed and share purpose-bred dogs for this work. When they're with the young puppy trainers, they're with them from about 2 months of age until to like 6 or 8 months of age. And those folks are house training them, crate training them, and getting them socialized to the world. And then about 6 to 8 months of age, they head into our prison program, the ABLE program. And that's where they receive advanced training. 1 week out of 4, we have dogs come out. So they rotate out essentially once a month for a week. And that's to take all the training that the men in the prison are doing and test it out here. And then as well, like, there are no cars in prison. There are very few children in prison. And there certainly aren't situations where dogs get to be in homes and like roam freely or be alone. There's no alone time in prison. So those weeks out throughout their entire training are vital to keeping them, engaged and ready to work out in the community.
Do you go into the prison to work with the men? How does that work?
We have a fairly mature program. So within the program, we have many trainers with a lot of experience. Part of the curriculum is to learn how to teach and instruct. And so essentially what the trainers who have lots of time in the program are doing is they're raising up what I call Abel's future. So the vast majority of the time, they are running the program. Typically, someone from EE&P goes in 1 day a week.
Why is the ABLE program so important?
So in many respects, we consider the men who are in the ABLE program as clients. Our tagline is partnering people with dogs to improve lives. So the ABLE program, the participants are definitely doing outstanding training and getting our dogs prepared for clients who have disabilities. But at the same time, it gives us a project to work on together. There are just so many different layers within the ABLE program. We really focus on personal growth because our philosophy is if the person is thriving, then the dogs will get trained. So it's a huge focus for us. It's not that we don't do dog training, but I spend the vast majority of my time teaching people to manage, teaching people to instruct, teaching people to live well together. So they are learning real basic things like self-initiative, trust, and becoming outwardly focused rather than inwardly focused. That's what causes the community to live well together, to thrive, and actually to be constantly what they call bringing up the next man. I like to think of the dogs sometimes as the excuse that we get to come together. Because, if I was some, goody two-shoes do-gooder lady who walked in the prison and said, okay, guys, we're going to work on relationships, I'm not sure that we would have much interest. But when we're working on dogs, on training dogs, that's cool. So many guys will come into the program because they like dogs, right? That's their focus. And then they end up staying for the people. There's a lot of depression in prison, and you can imagine why. I have a sense that in prison, in order to get by, whether you're depressed or not, you have to really be looking out for yourself because nobody's looking out for you. And in fact, if somebody is offering you something, you need to really question what is their motivation, because it's so rarely a good motivation. And so what's going on in there is super unnatural, and it really is hard on people. So, within the ABLE program, the very first thing that I have really instilled since day one is when there's somebody new coming into the program, we give them the ABLE welcome, which is to really show them that they are welcome, they are needed, and in fact, we feel very lucky to have them. A lot of times that's hugely overwhelming, and a lot of people are wondering what's the catch, what's the thing going on here, but then they realize, like at Warren, all the guys live together in the same block. It's all ABLE trainers, and they can start to relax because they don't have to worry that somebody's going to steal something from them. And when you're not having to use all that time and energy just worrying about your basic safety and well-being, it really frees up your ability to do other things like dog training. And then likewise, once you're in a safe environment, you're able to learn.
I understand the EEMP is becoming much more focused on working with men in reentry. Can you talk about that?
The first time I walked in and worked with, the group of very brave men who decided they would try out this new program, the thing that I walked in the room seeing is just a bunch of underutilized people. And boy, that jazzed me. And then, as I was doing more work and, really seeing how they were leaning into their potential, I realized that we didn't want to lose all that experience, because our trainers would get great, like really, really good. And then they would do so well that they would get promoted to minimum custody on their way back out into the community. And essentially we would, see those guys move on and get busy training new trainers. But there would be some of our best trainers sitting in minimum custody, literally twiddling their thumbs. So with that, we had always dreamed of having a minimum program where the guys who were in our medium custody program and did well could then go to. And we just opened that program this past year. And so our program at Orange Correctional actually only has guys who have come in from our medium custody programs. With the minimum program, we were also interested in having the guys in the program move on to work release, where they would come out and work with us at our office during the day and then go back to the prison at night. And then once they reenter, we actually open that much more broadly now, but we would like to employ pretty much anyone who excelled in our medium program, so like completed it and did a good job. We would love to have them come to our office, and we would be able to employ them for a short term, but it would be something that would get them started. So we have actually been working with prison administrators to see if we could essentially have this pathway to reentry that starts in medium custody and moves all the way to reentry. One of the things that makes work release and employment after prison possible is that we've literally known these men for years and years, and we've had time to develop a relationship. Because we work with vulnerable populations, we work with children. It would be a big risk if I just took any person who was reentering. But these folks who are coming out have been a part of the EEMP community for, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. That's one of the things about prison that I would love to see develop more. If you have somebody who's in prison and they have no investment in the community and the community has no investment in them, then what's going to happen when these folks just land in the middle of a community? No one's invested in each other. No one knows each other. And that's where a lot of fear comes from. It's a big leap for guys to come out. There are so many different changes that they have to go through. And if they're having to learn a new job skill, build relationships with people they don't know, and then also be able to sleep at night, because, lack of sleep is one of the number one things that I hear from our folks who are reentering. Sleepless, don't know anybody, don't know how to do your job. That's going to be so hard.
The men in prison also do interact with the clients. Can you talk about that? Yeah.
Just this week, we had 2 clients go up to our medium security at Caswell. These are clients who have been placed with service dogs that were trained by the ABLE program. And the ABLE trainers will have worked for a week or two ahead of time to develop classes to help address training challenges that those clients are facing. So once again, we're using dog training as sort of a platform to develop relationships, right? So dog training is used to develop these professional relationships where the clients are coming in and asking for help. The guys are providing that help. And the other part that's a big turning point for many of the ABLE trainers is they can see what the training that they're doing. They can see how that really helps and affects other people. And that's where many people say, oh yeah, that's when I bought into Able. I liked the dogs, and then there was all this personal growth stuff that I kind of put up with. But then when they really saw what their work was doing, essentially their participation in Able went to a whole different level.
Good job. Jojo. Thank you. Go play.
I think that there's an interesting comparison that can be made between the clients and the incarcerated trainers, in that being in prison is in some ways similar to the isolation and the sense of being held hostage that many clients experience because of their disease. Deb says that the guys in prison recognize that parallel and are super excited to be able to offer someone more freedom. Abel, did you ever have any experience with therapy dogs while you were incarcerated?
No, there was nothing like this program when I was incarcerated. Since then, they did implement the program at Western Correctional. I had a good friend who went through the program and absolutely loved it, but I don't think that program exists anymore, and that's such a shame.
That really is a shame. Hopefully EEMP or another dog program will soon fill that void, because working with dogs is just such a special opportunity, especially for anyone serving time. Deb Cunningham made the point that working with the North Carolina Department of Adult Correction has been a great experience for them. Apparently, the department has been both welcoming and supportive, and they have someone in the prison system who seeks out possible able candidates either at Warren or Caswell Correctional Center, where EEMP has training programs. And then if they can't find people who are interested or eligible, they take recommendations from prisons throughout the state to find the right people for the program.
I think that's very impressive. Too bad they can't implement that program, especially in the women's facilities. There are not a lot of opportunities for them to connect with people from the outside. And this will be a good thing for them to do, especially the ones with longer sentences that might not even see the outside. Having someone with a life sentence train a therapy dog might be therapy for both the inmate and also the person that receives the dog.
Absolutely.
And next, we're going to hear from Angel Molez. Angel spoke at the November graduation ceremony, got out of prison in June of 2023, and has been working with EENP ever since. Here's Angel.
When people ask me, man, I don't know how you did that time, I would have went crazy. I just look at it, man, okay. But every time somebody asks me that, I always think about this quote that says, the circumstances doesn't make the man or the person. It just reveals who they are.
My name's Angel Mellows, and my job here is a dog trainer. I do more of a touch-up than anything on skills. Yeah, trying to find the issues and fix them for office training and home training.
So you take them when they come out of prison and then you work with them?
Yes, basically, yeah. And to make sure that their trainers that take them for the week know what to work on and what home skills to try to improve on and stuff.
What is it that you like about working with dogs?
Just to experience the different training that most dogs need, that other people think that, all the dogs are the same, they learn the same way, but they don't. Dogs are like humans. They different temperaments, attitudes, emotions, and it's just figuring out how they work best and how to train them to make them better, to understand them and figure out how to train them best is what I enjoy. Yeah.
What's the most challenging part of your job?
Most challenging part of the job is just problem solving the dogs that have a certain issue that you're oh, you know what? Let me try to get this dog in a better state, I guess would be but just trying to find out how to the skill that he has a problem with to try to improve it and try to get it to where it needs to be instead of where it's at. You have dogs that are relaxing cars, and you have other dogs that not relaxing cars, and it's just like finding out what works best for them and how. And, you know, like I said, it's trial and error. Sometimes you get it right, and sometimes you're like, oh, no, it didn't work. Okay, let's find something else to make it work. And just trying to get the best results.
How did you go from being an inmate who was working with dogs to becoming an employee on the outside?
Well, you know, we talked about like what was my plans and stuff. Didn't really have much of a plan. But you know, after got in contact with them and we were talking, they were like, hey, you know, you're welcome to come work with us. And I'm like, yeah, I'll try it. Yeah. So it was basically like after I was released.
Do you think that working with therapy dogs prepared you to get out of prison?
I guess you could say yes, because like I didn't have any skills or anything before prison. So after prison, I guess you could say it did, because then I came out with a skill set and a mindset. So, yeah.
How did it change your mindset?
Well, I mean, like I've said in one of my speeches, like I was the type of person that if something didn't work out, I'd just be like, whatever. I didn't really care about it failing. So, and I would just brush it off. But now, like, there's no such thing as failure. It's just a not yet. And, you know, just finding ways to making it, to getting it right.
What has working with therapy dogs taught you about working with people?
Well, I mean, it's taught me a lot. You know, it's taught me like, because, you know, being patient, being understanding, and I think that's about it. Yeah, like, and like having good communication. Like, yeah.
Do you think it's given you more patience and understanding with yourself?
No, I'm still working on that. Yeah. We'll get there eventually.
Can you talk about that at all, or would you prefer not to?
I mean, it's really not much to talk about it. You know, I just have my issues, you know. Like I said in my speech, a little hot-headedness going on, but it's just, who doesn't? So, I mean, like me, I was just more quick to react than anything. Like, so now I'm like, you know, slow down a little bit. Yep. A lot of people, they see this as, oh, he's working with dogs. All he does is play with the dogs all day. But it's actually like a lot of work. And like, you know, it's just, there's days when I just get home and I'm like, I'll shower in the morning and fall asleep with my shoes on. That's how tired I am. And it's just, yeah, it's work. It's a lot of work. And then when you're not working with dogs, you're either doing some type of paperwork and trying to manage your schedule or chores. And it's just, a lot of people think like, oh, no, he plays with dogs all day. That's all he does. But it's more than that. And it's enjoyable. So if anybody would like to come help, they're more than welcome. And they're like, oh man, you've changed. I'm like, nah, like I disagree with that, because a person can't change who they are. The only thing they can do is try to better themselves, and that's what I've been doing since I was in the program, and that's all I can do is keep trying.
You know, what strikes me about the dog therapy program is that it's really about relationships. At the graduation ceremony, Angel talked about wanting to do good for his mother's sake. She stood by him through everything he's been through, and he doesn't want to disappoint her. He never even mentioned dogs once during his speech.
Well, he didn't really have to mention dogs. The relationship could be with a person or with a human. his mother stood by him, and he looks up to her and doesn't want to disappoint her. So therefore, he wants to do a good job in anything he does, training dogs or sweeping the floor. And that would go along with his thoughts on how he could disappoint her, which is something that he doesn't want to do.
Yeah, I mean, he's really working on getting his life together. And I think working with dogs has really given him an avenue and a way to work on himself.
Well, that's our show for today. Stay tuned for the season's final episode of the 98% Life After Prison, when we learn how the FIT program is providing badly needed health care and support for people coming out of prison with a chronic health condition.
Today, we're going to close with the voice of another EEMP client, Sarah Phipps. Sarah suffers from postural orthostatic tachycardia, or POTS, a condition that attacks the autonomic nervous system and affects somewhere between 1 and 3 million people in the United States, often young women. Let's hear what Sarah has to say about her condition and find out how her service dog, Ralph, has completely transformed her life.
My name is Sarah Phipps, and my dog's name is Ralph. Ralph is my cardiac alert dog. He alerts to migraines and seizures and high and low heart rates.
So, how has Ralph changed your life?
Well, the biggest thing is I went from passing out 6 to 8 times a day to once or twice a month. So he's really changed my life. I've only fallen maybe 2 or 3 times. And I can live by myself now. So I was in high school when I was first diagnosed with my condition. And so that was really hard, but I was still living with my parents. And we weren't sure if I was going to be able to go to college or anything. When we got him, I was able to live by myself and go to school, and I can even drive again. So I hadn't driven most of my senior year of high school. I wasn't allowed to drive, but now I can drive again. I'm driving almost every day to and from class, and living by myself.
So what is your condition?
Postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome is a condition that affects a huge amount of young women in childbearing age, so from puberty until maybe 35, 40, somewhere in there. And essentially it's an autonomic nervous system disorder. So when a normal person stands up, their veins in their legs, their blood vessels will constrict to push the blood up into your head so you don't pass out. So with somebody with POTS, that doesn't happen for whatever reason. Nobody really knows what really happens. So I will stand up, my blood pressure will go down really rapidly, my heart rate will increase, and the standard is of 40 or more. And so when I was initially tested and I stood up on my orthostatic vitals, my heart rate went from 50 to 150. So it was a really big increase. When I pass out, my heart rate will get really, really high. And for someone whose heart rate is almost consistently high all the time, it's hard for me to be able to tell the difference. Or when I'm at the start of an episode, I'm so disoriented, I can't tell. So what he does is he will alert to me before it happens so that I can sit down. And then he does something called deep pressure therapy, where he just lays across my legs and that forces the blood up to my head. So a majority of the time, I don't pass out at all anymore. I don't have a lot of experience with people in prison, so when they did my leash ceremony, I was a little nervous going into the prison, but the guys that do it are really great people. They put a lot of work into the dogs, and when they were demonstrating some of the skills, you can tell they're very proud of what they do, and I think it's such a great way to give them fulfillment. So just learning to accept the help of the dogs has been a really big thing for me, and it's Instead, it's hard to ask people for help, it seems like, but these dogs, like Ralph loves to work. It's like his favorite thing ever.